So here we are, once again, with another comic review, and this is again part of the Marvel Haul that my friend Chris sent me. Chris, thank you once again. And we're going to be talking about Fantastic Four. Whatever happened to the Fantastic Four? That's the name of the title. I'm not lying. So yeah, now I'm going to be honest. I have always loved the Fantastic Four. They're probably, if you were to ask me what my favorite superhero team was from any comic book group, it's the Fantastic Four, no doubt about it. They represent everything that is fun about comics. They represent, like, basically the Marvel... Like, they were the first family of Marvel. They basically ushered in the age of Marvel Comics. I know that was with Captain America and all that, but that was a time when they were called Timely. Funny enough. So, yeah, the Fantastic Four mean a lot to me as a reader. And I skipped out entirely on Dan Slott's run because, well, it's Dan Slott, and that man is the embodiment of mediocrity at best and overblown garbage at worst. And also, Dan, I watched that documentary on Disney Plus about you and how you write. Speaking as a writer who's struggling to get into, be a writer and get into the business, and how you just manage to, and this is for Dan Slott specifically, I know he'll probably never see this, but like, how you just seem like you coast through life and no one bothers you about it, you fucking piece of garbage, and how you've basically made it impossible, like, to write, you just seem to coast on thinking that you can write this way, write a certain way, and, you know, delay everyone else at your fucking expense. Get fucked, Slott. Anyway, so I needs to say I didn't read his run, but I will admit there were two things I liked about it. One, actually no, there's only one thing I liked. There is two things. One, he kept the family element of the Fantastic Four, and two, he married Ben and Alicia. On top of that, he gave them adopted kids, which were a Skrull daughter and a Kree son, which... Alright, you got two things right out of the rest of your bullshittery. I'm still knocking you for it. So, needless to say, I was interested to see, after Dan Slott finished his run with the Reckoning War, I was curious to see what would happen with the new writer, Ryan North. Now, Ryan North is an unknown to me. Apparently he's done he's been a cartoon writer, and that's very similar to Jeremy Adams, who did the Flash run, and I'll get into more of the connections there. And probably why I'm going to say I like this book so far. But at first, I'm going to be honest, I wasn't interested in reading this book because the whole theme of the book, of this storyline, was Reed did something horrible in the Fantastic Four, no more. And keep in mind, this is hot off the heels of, like, what did Peter do in Zeb Wells' Spider-Man run? So I was a little hesitant to read it, but I heard nothing but good reviews of the book, and I heard that there were some cool ideas with the stories, too. And then the thing that really sold me was, in a future story arc, which Chris got me the first 3 volumes of the series, there's basically a storyline where the Fantastic Four go to a Marvel dinosaur universe. So, obviously, my ass is sold on that. So, I did decide to read it. And yeah, yes, they do, and that's why the reason why I was off put by it was the whole what did the Fantastic Four do? And I thought they, like with Zeb Wells' Spider-Man, they were going to drag that along and it was going to be unfulfilling. Thankfully, it wasn't. Actually, let's talk about that right now. So, what did Reed Richards do that caused the Fantastic Four to break up and, you know, the people to hate turn on the Fantastic Four? Well, what happened was the Negative Zone had breached, and the creatures from the Negative Zone were pouring out, and the Fantastic Four were on the verge of being overrun. Reed, in a last-ditch effort to save the city as well as the Baxter Building, essentially moved them forward 1 year in time, and to safeguard the city and also safeguard the Baxter Building. However, it looks like Reed destroyed an entire block, and he couldn't explain himself. So the Fantastic Four got their assets frozen. They've lost the Baxter Building. Obviously, it's 1 year in the future. And now Ben and Alicia blame Reed for what happened. So the Fantastic Four are on the run because it looks like they killed everyone, and they go on some separate adventures for a bit. And the whole thing gets explained in issue 4. It's not like with, you know, the Zeb Wells Spider-Man thing where it's like, oh, you know, it was so bad we have to drag it out for like 25 issues. And then when you see it, it's really unfulfilling and stupid. Here, it's like, oh, that's very Reed Richards. And he's also like, it's not like it's his own volition where he did something incredibly dumb. That's very Reed. That's very Reed. He was saving everyone in a panic move, and even like Ben and Alicia, who were just unleashing anger on him, realize, oh, it was his kids in that time jump too. Fuck, I've been punished. And I love the moment where Ben goes, "There's no bad guy here." So I like that. Now, I just wanted to like bury the lead right there. So that was kind of the thing that was keeping me away, but when it was explained, I was like, oh, cool. The only weak thing was, really, it was the negative zone just overran you? You couldn't call the Avengers, or, you know, Spider-Man wasn't around? That's the only flaw in it, but at the same time, after seeing the dumb fuckery of the explanation of what did Peter do in Zeb Wells' Spider-Man, this is forgivable. So let's talk about the rest of the story. The first 3 issues are, what are the Fantastic Four doing now that they've all, like, been separated? We have the first issues with Ben and Alicia, who are stuck in a city in a time loop. The second story involves Reed and Sue in a town that's home to Doombots. And the third story is about Johnny Storm learning how to be, you know, on his own, as well as, you know, fighting a corrupt businessman. It's actually, like, I really like that story the most because it kind of pinpoints, like, the whole thing of, like, what is Johnny Storm without the Fantastic Four? And the villain even says, like, dude, you can't, your powers are, you can only go from 1 to 100. You can't hurt me without possibly killing me in a fight. So, yeah, it actually explains that. It talks about that whole thing there. After issue 4, when everyone gets back together, it's more on-the-run stuff. And Ryan North knows his shit. Like, there is some deep-cut characters in here that even made me go, what? Like, they bring in Nicholas Scratch in the Salem 7, and I was like, I barely remember those characters. And, yeah, it actually, this comic really reminds me of, going back to that comparison with Jeremy Adams, his Flash run. It's fun. It's very light. It has some great elements of heart to it. It has a whole theme of family. I really like this series so far. Again, this really reminded me of the Jeremy Adams Flash run. And that's a good thing. Ryan North has done cartoons, apparently, so that doesn't surprise me. Also, I kind of want to see Ryan North do, like, because there are some very Doctor Who-esque stories in here, so I would love to see him do an episode or write for Titan Books, Doctor Who, in any capacity. But, yeah, I highly recommend this. The covers also by Alex Ross are awesome. I'm not gonna lie, the Alex Ross covers are just phenomenal. But then again, it's Alex fucking Ross doing his favorite thing of all time, which is the Fantastic Four. Yeah. Like, yeah, just, again, Alex Ross covers. Again, and Alex Ross has been doing, like, he's been doing Immortal Thor, he's been doing a few Marvel comics here and there. But yeah, I think his best work is with Fantastic Four in terms of cover art. But yeah, do I recommend Fantastic Four by Ryan North? Yeah. Like I said, I've got the other first 3 volumes, so be prepared for those future reviews. And Chris, thank you once again. I know, like, people were off-put because, again, it literally was coming hot off the heels of the mystery storyline with Peter. So I can see why people were off-put by that, but thankfully, it doesn't drag it out. It literally explains the whole thing, and we move on, no problem, after issue 4. So and it's also not convoluted and stupid. And also, there's not a needless death of a character, too, so there's that, also, that is mandated by the MCU, so there's that, too. Anyway, so if you've read Fantastic Four, whatever happened to the Fantastic Four, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of it. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.